Hello again, Honky Tonks, and welcome to what is probably my last video of 2023, unless something big happens, in which case I'll give you my honest opinion yet again. And so here we are, my year in review, and what a year it's been. Where the hell do I start with this one? This year has had literally everything in the celebrity and politics world, and the world, as I predicted, has gone to rat shit, and it's going to get worse next year. So there we go. But seriously, this has turned into, politically, not just a battle between left and right, but right and wrong, or right and depravity, in my opinion. So where do I start? Well, let's start with Boris Johnson. Now, he was made to resign as an MP from Parliament because they didn't like him. Ever since he became Prime Minister with a whopping great majority, which was thrown away, by the way, by Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak, they wanted him out. The establishment hated him. But in a weird way, he's also part of the establishment, so explain that. Like I said before, I voted for him, between him and Jeremy Corbyn, because I'd never vote for a Marxist anyway, but still, Boris Johnson was the best of a bad bunch. And so there was a plot to get rid of him as Prime Minister, because he had a piece of cake at Downing Street during the lockdown, and yet Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner of Labour, they could have beer and pizza, and nothing happened to them. And so the crybabies in Parliament and the left in general, they weren't satisfied with getting rid of him as Prime Minister. They wanted him out of Parliament as an MP. And they succeeded, and they got rid of him. And now he just goes to Ukraine and tries to garner support for Zelensky for some reason, which is weird, but hey-ho, he's gone, and that's that. It just goes to show you, and it proves that it's not the people that get rid of politicians, but other politicians and the establishment. And what a sad story that is for democracy. And then there's X, the best social media site on the internet at the moment, thanks to Elon Musk. Now, as you know, Elon Musk bought Twitter for 40 odd million, or was it billion? No, 40 odd billion back in 2022. And then he completely rebranded it into X. And it's the best thing ever. Out goes cancel culture, crying lefties. Well, they're still on there. You know, they said they'd leave Twitter or X if Elon Musk took over. And it's the same people who said they'd leave the US if Trump became president. He became president, and they're still there. They're still on Twitter. They love it, really, don't they? Bless them. But Twitter became X. He brought back the accounts of Tommy Robinson, Katie Hopkins, Alex Jones, Kanye West, then got rid of Kanye West, and it looks like Kanye West is on his way back. But like I said, either free speech for all or free speech for none. That's how it's got to be. Free speech for the left and for the right. Otherwise, it's over, isn't it? Free speech is the most important cog in the wheel of democracy. I've always said that. And I love X because I go on there to upset the wokey cokies, and it's so easy and it's so much fun. And so for that, Elon Musk, the most successful African-American ever, I salute you. And so we come to Glastonbury, the place where out-of-touch middle-class elites go to party and spend their fortunes while making a great, giant, big mess in the fields surrounding Glastonbury while preaching climate change or climate alarmism. You had the usual left-wing Z-list musicians using their platform to slag off the Tories and whatnot, so it was usual bollocks, wasn't it? You know, these people go there to preach about climate alarmism and the world is dying, climate change. We've all got to change and we've all got to do better and recycle, blah, 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 blah. And yet there they are, celebrities flying in their helicopters and jets to get there and back. And the whole place, the whole event is powered by diesel generators. So make of that what you will. Mass hypocrisy, one and all. You had Holly Willoughby once of This Morning. I will get to her later. She was preaching on telly on her own show on ITV that she was scared for her children's future because of climate change, and yet she has a helicopter fly her there for a private party and fly her back. You know. And speaking of climate alarmism, you've got the Just Stop Oil nutters. Now, these people are a public nuisance. They're a public menace. People have died because their actions, all right, they're peaceful for now, but things change, don't they, with the left? it always ends up violent with the woke lefties if they don't get their way. And I promise you it'll be the same. Oh, don't do that. It'll be the same with Just Stop Oil. People have died because they've blocked traffic and ambulances can't get to medical emergencies or take them to hospital in time. And some of them have been jailed and the police are clamping down on them hard. But in my opinion, not hard enough. But just like every wokey-cokey, these Just Stop Oil nutters, they're massive hypocrites. Quite literally everything that makes their peaceful protest possible is made of oil. Transport, clothing, the megaphones, their signs, the ink, everything. And their founders have been found out as well. One of them was seen shopping in Waitrose and John Lewis, buying food that's been imported and wrapped in plastic. Now, in my opinion, the police need to round them all up and lock them up in prison for a long, long time. It's not the poor people they should be haranguing and being a nuisance of. It's the MPs. If you want to protest and have change, go outside the MP's house, not Parliament. You know, MPs don't give a flying monkeys what you do to London. But if you go outside their houses and you badger their wives because they can't go out and do their thing and have their privacy, you watch things change. Of course, I'm not endorsing doing that thing, but that's what I do. So yeah, they've been harassing people this year, the previous year, and they'll do it next year as well, unless something drastic happens. And not the police, but the government cracks down really hard on them and makes them into an example. And next is old Prince Harry, Meghan Markle's poor assistant. He's had a bad year. I reckon his book came out, Spare. I ordered one on Amazon to make a review. You can see that review somewhere on my channel. And they sent me 2 copies. And I found out that's to make the sales bigger than what it is. So, you know, Amazon's in on it. Other people told me this as well online. A friend of mine down the road, they had 2 copies. They don't know why, but there we go. But the book Spare really, it was a mistake, wasn't it? It really was a mistake because it didn't make him to be a victim at all. It made him to be an out-and-out sexist bully. And of course, for this, they were mocked by South Park. So if you haven't seen that episode, then please do. It's very funny and true. It's funny because it's true. That's what these people are like. We want privacy, and yet they're everywhere selling their stories or using their lackeys to push their agenda or their lies. They're liars as well, Meghan and Harry, and it's been proven. Now, rumours are Meghan's bringing out a book next year. I mean, goodness me, what else could they say? I mean, I don't believe a word they say. And they're hypocritical climate alarmists as well, because they've been going to these climate alarmist showcases telling people not to fly, and they're taking jets everywhere. I mean, the hypocrisy of these people, my goodness. And I must say, they've exceeded my prediction. I thought that they wouldn't last 5 years together, but they have, because she's milking it, isn't she? But mark my words, she will get rid of him when she's milked him for all his worth, and it'll be painful for him. It always is for cuckolds like Harry. Now, the most viewed videos on my channel are regarding Holly Willoughby, Philip Schofield, and the drama they caused on This Morning. And they've got lots of views because they're interesting and they were trending at the time. So naturally, being a YouTuber, I made videos about them. That is what YouTube is about. It's about making videos to get views and subs, all right, and enjoying doing it. I've been accused of being a clickbait, right? Being a clickbait is someone who makes videos about something that's other than the title. All my videos are about the title that's heading them on the thumbnail. So there we go. That's that. But if you're on YouTube to make videos so nobody can watch, just to be morally superior, then you're an absolute bloody idiot. Why do this into a screen so nobody can watch you? Because you have the moral high ground, because you don't want people to watch you because you're doing videos for likes. Of course you're doing videos for likes and views and subs. That's the whole fucking point. But anyway, Philip Schofield, one of the biggest stories of the year, he left this morning. He was sacked. He was called into the ITV executive's office and he was told to leave, and off he went. And this is because he became toxic, and drip by drip stories were coming out about him and Holly Willoughby and what they were really like. Now, it all started the previous year during the Queen's lying in state in Westminster Palace. They were both caught jumping the queue And it got worse because they lied about it. And they lied about it and nobody stuck up for them. So, they didn't get that back up and the public hated them forever, and they still do, just because of that. They said they were accredited journalists. They're not. They're television presenters, for heaven's sake. And they said they were in the press gallery, but the video shows them just in the queue walking past with their face masks on. What a pair. And then the revelation came of Philip Schofield's affair and his sexuality, and it all exploded literally everywhere. Social media, the mainstream media, everywhere. And so it turned out Philip Schofield had been having an affair with a young runner called Matthew McGreevy. Now, apparently it was said that at the time nobody knew about this, but now it's come out, a junior member of staff did. Now, Philip Schofield's sexuality isn't the story. It shouldn't be. However, the suspected circumstances of his relationship with Matthew McGreevy is because he met Matthew McGreevy when he was very young indeed. It was because of Philip Schofield that Matthew McGreevy had a job as a runner on This Morning, and he had a lot of privileges. He was caught on video by YouTuber Jack Jones having a drink in a pub, and it also turned out that Matthew McGreevy was sleeping in Philip Schofield's flat. So there we go. And so before it all came out officially, he came out as gay, and he was all cringy on the This Morning sofa. It was really bad. I mean, how the hell? That was bad. And that, of course, was an attempt to shield him from any accusations, but it didn't work. Schofield is finished. Which leads me to Holly Willoughby. Now, Holly Willoughby's association with Philip Schofield, it's kind of dragged her into it, but there have been revelations that she is very toxic and not easy to get along with, and a bit of a diva on the This Morning ITV set. So she kept taking time off. She'd come back, time off again, and then she left. And they were both replaced by laughing hippocrocopig, Alison Hammond and Kermit O'Leary, two of probably the most dullest presenters ever in the history of television, and that's saying something. And because of all this, it now looks like ITV are going to bin This Morning next year, and nobody's going to miss it, really. And talking of presenters, Dan Wootton of GB News. Now, he got suspended after Lawrence Fox went onto his GB News show and said he wouldn't shag a journalist, well, activist really. And so they were both immediately suspended. Dan Wootton, for some reason, and because Calvin Robinson stood up for them, they sacked him too. But Dan Wootton is still suspended. And so it turns out, after all this, GB News is not the home of free speech after all, because Lawrence Fox and Calvin Robinson have both blown the lid on what really happens inside that television news programme. Now, according to them, it's full of woke lefties using GB News as a platform to go on to BBC or Sky News or Channel 4. And to be honest with you, I have noticed recently GB News has gotten a bit more woke, and that's quite concerning. What an absolute shit show of a news station that has turned out to be. I mean, the promise was really good with GB News. I was looking forward to it, and then all this happened, and I'm just completely off. I don't watch any mainstream media news channel now because of this. Which brings me on to King Charles's coronation. Now, I have forsaken my Pledge of Allegiance, as is my right. It's not something you do for the rest of your life, by the way. There's nowhere saying they have to do that, ever. But I stuck with him for a while, and then he wore the black poppy, and that was it for me. It really was. And he wore the colours of Greece on his jacket, handkerchief, and on his tie during a visit, and that was showing his support for Greece and the row between Britain and Greece for the Elgin Marbles. And the guy's a Wef stooge. He's a lefty. He talks to plants. He's all about climate change. The King's Christmas message was about climate alarmism. He's one of them. I don't like him. He will never fill his mother, God bless her, the late Queen Elizabeth II's shoes. She was just perfect in her role as monarch. The guy can't keep his mouth shut. He's too political. The king, the monarch, should be apolitical. No political opinions whatsoever, but he's got too many. He's a spoiled brat, and he's always had them. He's known for lobbying ministers, and I don't like it. I really just don't like him. He's a spoiled brat. I don't like him. The shorter his reign, the better, in my opinion. And it showed as well during his investiture before his coronation. He lost his temper with staff on camera. I mean, my goodness. I knew he'd do it. He started off as a twat, and I was absolutely right. Speaking of twats, Russell Brand, he's been embroiled, hasn't he? He's had a bad or a good year, depending how you look on it. Really good social media-wise because he's had millions of subscribers, Rumble, and YouTube, not sure on Rumble, but he's got lots of people watching him. And he's been investigated for alleged sexual crimes during the past, things he did in the past, TV programs, Big Brother, when he was the host of that, and his film, Arthur. But why now? Why wait years later to bring these allegations against the guy? And there's a massive conspiracy, isn't there? Because Russell Brand has now turned anti-woke, that they're trying to get rid of him and silence him by putting all these allegations in and getting rid of him. And YouTube demonetized him as well. They didn't get rid of his channel, but they did demonetize him, stopping him making money because of his views. But that's YouTube all over, isn't it? And that was all thanks to a member of Parliament. I can't remember her name. I should have written it down, really, shouldn't I? But yeah, it turns out she wrote to YouTube and every other social media site, threatening them, especially Rumble. If they didn't deplatform Russell Brand, then they'd be for it, and she'll pass legislation making it harder for them to operate in the UK. And so that's another lefty being red-pilled. Russell Brand, J.K. Rowling, Graham Linehan, it's all happening, all these lefties. That's the only way they learn, is by being red-pilled and being turned upon by their own side. And then we come to the BBC. The BBC, if anyone still pays their TV licence fee, then you deserve everything that they produce for you. The highlights of the football, woke, crappy programming, the BBC letting you know what they think you should know rather than the news. Biased stuff, really, and you're paying the BBC and Gary Lineker to hate you. Now, Gary Lineker was suspended for a while by the BBC because he accused the Tory government, well, not really Tories, but still, he accused them of being Nazis for some reason, genocidal 1930s political group, which they're not. The Tories are just Tories, aren't they? Far-right, world-dominating, genocidal, maniac fascists, they're not. But then they got reinstated, and the viewings for Match of the Day went up through the roof when he wasn't there, funnily enough, or his cohorts, Alan Shearer and Ian Wright. That's the thing with the lefties. They always stick together, don't they? I'll give them that. But the BBC reinstated him, and they said, well, you've got to be a bit more tight-lipped when it comes to politics. And he hasn't. He's still doing it because he knows he can get away with it. So hopefully next year the BBC will have enough and sack him, and he deserves it. And staying with the BBC, we've got Huw Edwards. I was going to say poor old Huw Edwards, but no, Huw Edwards is a wrong 'un. For a whole week, social media and the mainstream media was alight with rumours of another nonce at the BBC and speculation galore, and all these BBC stars had to issue statements saying it wasn't them, Jeremy Vine, Gary Lineker. I messaged Gary Lineker on Twitter or X and said, I wish it's you, and then he blocked me. Fancy that. But it turns out it was Huw Edwards. It took his wife to come out with a statement saying it was him. I mean, what a coward, while he retreated into a mental health facility because, mental health, I need curing. I'm not wrong, I'm mental, help me. That's what we got from him, basically. But it turns out he had been swapping pornographic messages and photos with a young lad and paid him thousands of pounds of his wages, which, incidentally, paid for by TV licence fee payers. So, yeah. And it was the Sun newspaper that's exposed him, but they held back for some reason. People are saying maybe they've got more on him and others, and they're waiting for him to come out of this mental health facility to expose him fully. And there's been another BBC investigation regarding him. Now, more rumours coming out that he's actually left the BBC, but again, rumours are rumours, and social media is rumour control. But I doubt very much the BBC will hang on to him because these allegations are pretty severe. And the worst thing about this, I think, other than the fact that he's been swapping dirty pictures with a young lad, the Wokey-Cokeys, they've been defending him and wishing him luck and can't wait to have him back presenting the news. I mean, good Lord, what's it going to take for these people to understand? I'm telling you now, the BBC is a cesspit of left-wing bigotry and wrong-uns. It always has been, it is, and always will be. And then, of course, there's the success of Ricky Gervais on Netflix with his stand-up shows. I've made those videos, so watch them to see my opinions on them. But still, it's big news. It's still raging on social media. You've got all these comedians, lefty comedians, raging and being jealous because he resonates with the common man and woman, working class, on the streets, you and I, and they don't like that, do they? So I expect him to be cancelled sometime soon, but I doubt that though, on Netflix, because he's making Netflix money. And Netflix, I think, have realised that if you're woke and you produce woke stuff, you don't make money, you become a failure. Go woke, go broke. But Ricky Gervais isn't woke, everyone's watching him, and he's making them money, so, you know, they'll go where the money comes from. And that's it. It's been a weird old year. The illegal migrants have kept coming in their thousands over the channel, in their dinghies from France, which is meant to be a... I mean, I don't get this, right? They're all fleeing war zones, but isn't the EU and France a safe country? You know, the Ramonas are always saying that we should be getting back into the EU, but if these illegal migrants are fleeing France, which is in the EU, then why the hell would we want to join a war-torn continent because of the EU? You tell me. But they're coming here, we're spending billions on them to accommodate them. We've put them in disused army barracks, we've sacked hotel staff to fill them. What else? I mean, it's happening in Ireland as well. It's all happening in Ireland. It's kicking off in Ireland big time. That's because they never asked the people. They never asked the people if they want mass immigration, open borders, and anything done about it. And it's going to blow up. There was a massive fight in London between Ethiopians and Eritreans. Did I get that right? I should have written that down as well. And there's videos galore, and these people have got machetes, 2x4s. They're marching up and down London High Street with... London High Street, there's many high streets in London. But they're marching up and down the streets in London with 2x4s like Hacksaw Jim Duggan out of the WWF back in the 80s and 90s. It's nuts. I want to see mass deportations. If these people can't behave when they come here, we accommodate them, give them money, jobs, bend over backwards for them, benefits, healthcare, everything we can throw at these people to make their lives comfortable and a success. And then we pay us by having open ethnic gangland wars on the streets of London. Then I want to see mass deportations. We can't keep going on like this. We need strict, stringent, disciplined immigration. I'm not against immigration completely. Let's get the people we want, professionals, people who will integrate, fly the British flag for us, be nice, obey the law, interact with the neighbours, with the local populace, but remember where you are. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. But sadly, all this is going to continue next year. It'll be worse. London is probably the most violent, unsafe city shithole in the UK, and it's all down to Sadiq Khan. So there we go. 2023 was nuts. Next year is going to be worse, but I'll be there with you, making videos, experiencing everything, talking about it, and looking forward to reading your comments. To everyone who's subscribed to me this year, thank you. To everyone who's become a channel member, I thank you even more. And for those sharing my stuff and interacting with me, the regulars, you're just great. This channel would be sod all without you. And I mean that, I really do. So next year, hopefully, I'll reach 100,000 subs. I don't buy subs like other YouTubers. It's all organic. And I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of my channel. And I'm proud of myself as well. I don't say that often. But there we go. There'll be more of me, hopefully more of you. And I'll see you next year. I'm Paz49. Thanks for listening. And until next year, have a good one, and Roger Trout.